Wow. This is truly a remarkable night. I want to start by saying that these nights rarely ever come about. And so I want everybody just to soak that in for a second. And in particular, I want to thank the staff of RePublic schools who work day in and day out to educate the scholars in this room. So let's give it a round of applause for all of our staff members. So 8,400 miles east of here is a state in India named Uttar Pradesh. And that state is home to 135 million people who are living in poverty. So to put it in perspective, if you took all of the people living in poverty in the United States and you tripled it, it wouldn't be as many poor people as live in this one province in India. And so that's 135 million people living without access to basic health care, education, or sanitation. And these 135 million people suffer under a system that is better at nurturing corruption than human potential. This is a system where religion is more often used to solidify inequality than to inspire charity. And a system where children have the lowest odds of achieving success of anywhere on the planet. And so I mention Uttar Pradesh because 60 years ago, my dad was born into that corner of this world in a village named Sahatwar. And by almost any measure, he would have been considered unlucky in life. He was the youngest of 9 children and the son of a merchant, an uneducated merchant, who voluntarily gave up the family cloth merchant business in protest against British imperialism, further thrusting our family into poverty. And Sahatwar lacked a reliably functional school. And so my dad's common class experience was going to school underneath a tree, where he was assigned a 2-foot by 2-foot plot that he would shine with a stone and then get chalk and do equations under the supervision of the village teachers. And so occasionally the village would get together and they would take exams. And my father would routinely score number 1 in the village. And he always told me this story of this one time he came home really proud, the first time he was number 1. And he showed it to my grandfather. And he did not get the response he was looking for. My grandfather said, are you expecting me to be impressed? And my dad was a little confused. My grandfather said, do you think there is anybody in this world who knows more than you and who could do better on that test? And he said, if you do, then you need to work harder. So that was the standard set by my proud grandfather, a man who never attended primary school or secondary school. He refused to lower his expectations. And he knew that despite the unfairness of the world around him, his children would succeed if they had the knowledge and the skills necessary. And so my grandfather was right to be stubborn. And when my dad graduated from high school, students from all over that province sat for the SAT in India, the equivalent. And so of the 600,000 plus students who took that test, my dad scored 10th. And so he went to medical school, immigrated to the United States, and the rest is history. All 8 of my dad's siblings, because of my dad's performance, were allowed to move to the United States, and most did. And our family took a quantum leap from the bottom of the poorest society on the planet to becoming well-respected professionals in the most prosperous country in the history of the world. And so I mention this because expectations, hopes, are like a religion. You can't always explain why you believe what you believe, but those beliefs become as essential as the air you breathe. And I know that's the experience of so many people in this room. There are board members in here who say, and have said to me before, they don't know why they joined this thing, but they just knew it was right. There are a lot of staff members who often go home for Thanksgiving and stare into their family's eyes and are like, I don't know whether I have it in me to keep doing this, but I'm going to keep doing it. And most importantly, parents and scholars, you've been there. We've been on your doorsteps before. We've sat on your porches before, where a little bit of doubt creeps in. but then your hopes and expectations take over, and that's what's gotten you in this room. And so as the famed math teacher Jaime Escalante said, students will rise to the level of our expectations. And so my dad was no exception, and you are no exception. You, scholars, parents, teachers, have set stratospheric goals. You've met those goals. You've actually exceeded those goals. And the accolades are too numerous to list at this point, and we've heard them now from many people, including the mayor of this city. A section of you from Liberty sat for the 9th grade algebra test, and you sat for that test in the 7th grade, and you all scored advanced. Nashville Prep and Liberty were ranked the 2 highest performing charter schools in the state of Tennessee by 2 different measures and 2 different institutions. Your scholars outperformed every public school scholars in the state of Tennessee in math last year, and that includes the magnets like Meg's, and every public school in Williamson County, where people move out of the city to get better education. And so, but that's just not enough. We know that. So in the spirit of the grandfather I've never met, we need to set higher goals. So it's not about beating Williamson County and Meg's. We must ask whether there are any children anywhere who have or could have more skills, knowledge, or character than our scholars. From Montgomery to Boston to Beijing, we're searching the planet, finding out what's really out there so we know how high we need to climb. So that's why our classes will be designed in the 9th grade like college seminars and lectures. That's why our scholars will read and write about the most complex and relevant literature the world has to offer. And that's why our high school will have a cutting-edge computer coding and robotics program. But it's not just about beating real and imagined competition. You, scholars, I'm speaking to you especially, are entering a world that needs you to be the best you possibly can be. Because our world's challenges are just too numerous to count. And the most salient fact here is that for most of the scholars in this room, our country has been at war since you were born. Since you were born. And we've never been more at risk for the various factors out there, like environmental catastrophe, record temperatures, resource depletion, species extinction. And we've received a reminder recently that despite the election of the first black president this nation has ever seen, that race and racism still dominate society's discussions. And so it's not just about knowledge and skills. One of my old law professors used to say, in a Korean proverb, to never let your skills exceed your virtue. Never let your skills exceed your virtue. So that's your challenge, scholars of RePublic High School. You won't just learn about the world around you, but you'll develop an ethics for how to make the world a safer, more just place. And the possibilities are limitless. You can be a Secretary of State who negotiates an end to war. You can design a new technology that prevents the acceleration of global warming. You can lead the next wave of the civil rights movement and achieve King's dream. I look forward to living in that world. But even more, I look forward to the next 4 years. Because as they say, the journey is a destination. And what a magical journey it's been. Thank you very much.
Both of us, if you don't know this, are big